there something I missed that you want me to say? Just all she did was make a little note. I can give you the old one. She has them right there. I like the company. Okay, everyone. Tonight, this is a meeting of the Chelsea Licensing Commission. Today is September 14th, 2023. I am here with my fellow commissioners, Mike McAteer, Alexandria Christmas, Emily Cherniak, myself, Marnie McAlpine, along with our licensing clerk, Naomi Lebron, and our assistant city solicitor, Peter Christopher, and Captain Betts from the Chelsea Police Department. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We have a few things to get through, but they should be hopefully fairly quick. To start, can we get an adoption of the minutes from the July 13th, 2023 Chelsea Licensing Commission meeting?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you both. Next up, we have a clerk's update.
Just, I need a motion for the renewals of the 3 marijuana licenses.
And that is for the 3 original ones that have been in place.
Correct.
Can I get a motion for the annual renewal of the 3 marijuana licenses?
Motion to renew all 3 licenses.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we received a communication from one of the local residents with a complaint against the Blue Taxi Company. And this came to us from Deborah Feliciano of 14 Bloomingdale Street. She states, "To whom it may concern, I wanted to report problems that I have been having with the Blue Cab. On several times, they've refused to turn on their meters, and they're trying to charge me $10 from Market Basket to Bloomingdale, which I know my fare, it's only $6. On another occasion, I was bringing my father-in-law home. There was a lady in the front seat of the car. My father-in-law is handicapped, and he needed to sit in the front seat as he is handicapped, but the driver refused to have his girlfriend to sit in the back and was very rude about it. We called that cab back to report him, but the same driver answered the phone. He was very rude again, and I told him I was going to report him, and he said, go ahead. On other occasions, I've seen the same driver with his girlfriend in the cab. Also, I've seen another cab driver in the same blue cab with his grandson. I'm writing because I want to make sure that the blue cab is not taking advantage of people and charging them more than they are supposed to. Also, I'm concerned of people that are handicapped needing the front seat. Thank you for looking into this." I obviously would have concerns if we have cab companies in the community that are not turning on their meters. Particularly, I know that the 14 Bloomingdale location is one of our senior housing buildings, and I would be very concerned if we have someone taking advantage of those that we're supposed to be taking care of now. I'm not sure on the rules on whether or not a taxi driver can have a passenger in the vehicle. So I think we definitely would have to look into that. I understand the handicap requirement.
Yeah.
I have spoken with Deborah and gotten a little more intel on the subject. And her father-in-law is in a wheelchair, and the blue cab that arrived, it was one of the vans, and he can't get into the back seat. That's why he needed the front seat. In her instance, she didn't date specific occurrences in her letter, It does sound like these things happened in the beginning of the year and in the springtime, and she just wasn't really sure how to go about addressing the subject, and I happened to have spoken to her and told her,
Yeah.
if it's an issue, you need to write the commission. That being said, my advice before I ask for feedback would be that we put this to a public hearing to see if there are other folks in our community that are having similar issues, and then we kind of go from there based upon what we find. Thoughts from my fellow commissioners?
I agree, we can call in for conference or public hearing. I don't know if they can, at least to put them on notice, that doesn't happen anymore. It's gonna be pretty hard to prove, and it's gonna be pretty hard for the owner to pinpoint who actually did it, because they didn't get any license numbers.
Right.
So.
And I did inform the resident that, given the fact that these happened in the past, we don't have the dates, there isn't necessarily anything that can be done about those specific occurrences. All that we can do is try to address her concerns and make sure that we don't have these problems moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see what is the rules when having a passenger that's not a paying customer in the same vehicle, because that's a security issue. The other thing is, especially a child, the other concern is, or maybe suggestion is to reminders to all of the taxis, what the rules and regulations are. Since we don't have specific dates and times when this happened, or license plates, just a reminder that they need to put their meter on. I think it should be self-explanatory, but it's something like if we're going to open to the public, that they should also, a refresher.
And we just increased the fares.
Yes, at either our, I think our
Like last
June
month.
meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be like a $4 difference if she was paying $6.
Oh, no, I mean, this
Oh,
No, and I know that
behavior shouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
as the
that's true.
various companies told us when they were here last, we do have the ongoing issue with the gypsy cabs in the community. So I do understand, and I feel for our cab companies that are doing the right thing and have the licenses,
Yeah.
but they do need to follow the rules. And I understand their frustration with the gypsy cabs that aren't doing it, but the only way that we can fix that problem is by people reporting the gypsy cabs, and making sure that folks know that if they see a gypsy cab, to report it. And if I remember correctly, Captain, were they supposed to report the gypsy cabs to the police department?
Yeah, and when we had the meeting, I think the last time we had spoke about it, and I had said to have any complaints, directed, I think it was to Sergeant Noftel at the police department, and he would address those directly. And just as a side note, in regards to what you're talking about now, he did speak with that complainant today, and he was going to also reach out to the cab company to see exactly what, if anything, may have transpired. I know there's something in the city ordinance that says they have to have some agreement if they're going to have additional passengers or occupants in the cab when they're doing their fares. So I don't know exactly what happened with that.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to look into what that city ordinance is, just to make sure that people are in compliance, particularly if there is a handicap need, because we want to make sure that our handicap is being taken care of if they need those services. So we'll move that, or if I can get a motion to move that to a public hearing next month.
a motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. On the agenda this evening, our first topic, we have a public hearing to consider an amusement and entertainment license for a change of hours for Taquiera Eucalypto Corporation DBA Las Vegas Restaurant at 388 Broadway, Chelsea, Mass.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Too short.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, thank you. So Megan Corojedo, I'm the attorney for Raul Santos. We were here in July, and the commission allowed us to extend the hours from 11 to 1, Thursday to Saturday. So now we would just like his entertainment license, which is currently to 11, to correspond with those hours.
So at the last time we met, we had approved the change of their liquor license. However, there was not also a request submitted at the same time for their amusement and entertainment license to comply and match the same thing. So this is really just kind of correlating to what we already approved for the rest of their business.
Okay.
Any questions from my fellow commissioners? Any feedback or comments from the police department?
No.
And no issues since the change in hours already?
No, not pertaining particularly to their establishment at all.
Perfect. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on the matter? Seeing no one, I will ask for a motion to approve the license for the entertainment to match the approved hours for their liquor license. Can I get
Motion.
and a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next on the agenda, we have a continued disciplinary hearing to consider revoking, suspending, or modifying the all kinds of alcohol beverages on-premise consumption license of Fanny's Place Incorporated, DBA Chelsea Walk Pub at 416 Broadway, Chelsea, Mass, relative to the Chelsea Police Incident Report number 23-1593-OF for violating the City of Chelsea Licensing Commission rules and regulations, Section 2.09H, failure to maintain a video surveillance system. And just for folks that are watching and not necessarily understanding what that complaint is, the city ordinance requires that any establishment with a liquor license must retain video of their establishment for 30 days and provide it upon request of the police department or the licensing commission.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Attorney Jeffrey Rosario Turco for Fanny's Place and the owner and manager hopefully till the next matter, Angela Palmieri, with me. So we've gone through the report, and I think the officer's report, and we're grateful for him acknowledging the attempt to be cooperative. Ultimately, we had an electronic. They can't figure out the bottom line is they can't figure out why the PIN and the password aren't working. We had Castillo Electronics go over. The place has been closed, as you may know, voluntarily in response to an email where we got saying that you've been closed for a few weeks, want you to stay closed until your hearing. I'm not sure if that was actually required as a matter of law, but my client said, I'm going to respect what the License Commission wants to do. They've tried to be good neighbors. So Castillo Electronics, which I can give to the captain or to the commission, went over, looked at it, and said they're trying to figure out what the problem is. If they can't, they're just going to replace the board. But they did give, as the police report says, one of the workers at the place gave the police officer the password. It wouldn't work. They called Angela, couldn't get it to work. Said take the hard drive out of the place, bring it. They tried to get it, and they just couldn't figure out the password. So there's some type of electronic failure as to why they can't get access. I wish I could give you a brilliant legal treatise on why it is, but I really can't answer that. So.
And can you tell me the date of that letter of when they had somebody come and look at the system?
So I actually told him today, Angela and Glenn, when I talked to them this morning, I said to Angela, you need to get somebody to look at it. She said, well, I haven't done anything having it looked at because we've been closed. So the thought is let's go to the License Commission, have the hearing with the understanding that once we resolve this issue and we hopefully change the manager, then the understanding is as soon as they give proof to the city, to the police department that the camera system is accessible to the police department, then they'll turn the lights on. But they wouldn't do that.
So I just want to confirm that this happened back in May.
May, correct.
And we've done absolutely nothing to
correct.
fix a system that we know we need in order to have our business open?
And that's because they haven't been open at the city's request. So there was, I think it was an email that went out saying, you've been closed for a few weeks. We don't
Our
want...
July meeting,
Yes.
we stated that, but
Right.
we're talking about an incident that happened Cinco de Mayo,
Yes,
and we said in July, stay closed.
correct.
So nothing was done between when the police came on May 5th, or when they came back a week later and we still didn't have access to that system, knowing full well that it's a requirement.
Correct.
I would expect a responsible owner to be making every effort to fix that and make so they can be in compliance.
I understand, and what I would say to you is that, as we're here sort of throwing ourselves in your mercy, asking you to take into account the fact that we have been closed, I think essentially voluntarily since July, and that, I can represent to you that the change of manager is step one in the process. I expect that the next few weeks for your November meeting, we'll be filing a change of ownership as well to sort of, my client's tired and looking forward to moving on. So I think a combination of health issues, being tired, and ultimately saying, you know what, I'm not spending any more money until once I get this resolved and open the place up. So.
So before I open it to my fellow commissioners for questions, what day did, outside of following the request that we made at our last meeting for them to maintain being closed, what day did they originally close and why? Yeah,
She's going to look at her calendar.
I appreciate that. I do respect the fact that you've followed what we stated when we granted the extension for the disciplinary of maintaining the establishment being closed until we had a chance to review that. So I do appreciate that being followed. But I am interested in the time between May 5th and our meeting in July.
Right around June, sometime in June.
Okay.
Sometime in June, she was closed, and she's been dealing with a whole series of, anybody that knows, she's been dealing with some health issues.
Yep, and she doesn't need to go into her
Yeah, and
specifics, that's her.
she wasn't physically able to be there doing the hours, and so until she sort of, that's what precipitated, let's look forward, try to sell this place, get a change of manager, because she can't make the time commitment to physically be on site.
Understandable. So I'm just going to state one more time before I throw this over to my fellow commissioners. This was an incident on May 5th. I believe it was about a week later that the police department went back, which puts you the second week of May. So you operated for over a month without having that video surveillance, knowing full well that it is required by the license. And I mean, you've been before the commission before on disciplinary. You know how important the video is. So I'm just a little bothered by the fact that there was no good faith efforts to contact someone and try to get this repaired prior to shutting down in June. Because I mean, as somebody who has managed establishments, when the police come and then they say that something's not in compliance, the very next day, you're on the phone with whoever it is to get yourself in compliance and stay out of trouble. So to let over a month go by with no effort and to only see effort now is concerning to me. With that, I'll throw it to my fellow commissioners.
I mean, I don't know what you're asking to do, because if you're gonna sell it and move on, are we trying to open it again? Like, I'm just confused now about what the goal is here.
Yeah, I mean, so we're item 2 and 3 on the agenda. So item 2 is to resolve the disciplinary matter, which obviously is gonna have an effect on the sale petition that's gonna come to you in November. So looking to resolve that, frankly, with hopefully, resolve it reasonably amicably for my client. Then do the change of manager as soon as we submit to the police department and ask them to confirm that they're satisfied, they have the password. I think in the report it says my client gave them the key, said go in there anytime you want, get access. Once that's up and running and they confirm it, and, we let Naomi know that in writing, then we'd be looking to then turn the lights on with the new change of manager, and then ultimately the new ownership, hopefully in November, and whenever the ABCC, you and the ABCC approve it. So that's, the ask is, get this resolved. I hear your frustration. I will say, as counsel, I was frustrated getting the letter today, but what I will say to you is that I think I don't think it's fair to say that they did nothing. They did give the police officer the key. They did say, take the hard drive and try to do something, and they did keep the place closed at obviously a considerable expense to zero revenue. And so I think that all of that, hopefully we'll say, we get your message. You won't be talking to her in November other than to say, see you later, hopefully, once we come before you with the petition.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, so until we have access to the surveillance, you will not be open?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, what I would propose is that I would, as soon as I get confirmation, it's Castillo Electronics on Broadway, as soon as I get confirmation that it's open, I'll reach out to the police department, ask them to go down and physically confirm that they're satisfied, and then I'll write a letter or an email to the commission's secretary saying, I've confirmed with the captain that the City of Chelsea Police Department has access and, to it. And then we're gonna turn the lights on tonight.
So but since it's a requirement, they shouldn't be open until they're able to have surveillance at the property, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That was my clarification.
Are you at liberty to tell us anything about this future sale of the property?
I'm not yet. I actually reached out today to say when's the filing deadlines, but we're still talking numbers and stuff, so we're a little bit away, but, we're...
So I thought your client was the bar manager. She's the owner too?
Yes. Yep.
And nothing else came with a police report?
What's that?
Anything
She's been
further?
she was here, we had a hearing a few years ago. She was here with me, we were in the smaller
I
room.
remember, I just thought she was the bar manager. The police report, anything else come of it?
Of this,
Of this
the
incident,
one
yeah.
of this incident? Captain Betts, Mike is asking if there is anything further that has come on the police department side since what we have in this report.
No, there's been, no direct,
Just a fight happened, you don't know where it was?
nothing tied to, the inner establishment there at all.
And if I could make one, as I'm reading the report, unless there's another report I haven't seen, they came looking for a video, but there's no suggestion there was something, I think there was something outside of the street.
Yes, something did happen outside of the establishment.
Right.
Video was requested to see
Understood.
what they had of the incident, and sometimes you then find out it happened inside of the incident.
Yes.
It seems questionable from an establishment that has had to provide video surveillance to us before, and had that video surveillance, I believe, in speaking with one of my commissioners,
Three or
that
four
has...
times, 3 or 4 incidents, yeah.
He's been on this longer than I have. I've only been here for 2 years. But I believe that when we were provided that video surveillance, it showed some things that were happening, and
It was damning, it was, yeah.
it was very damning video. Now, obviously, that is a past occasion. That situation was addressed at that time. But it does make it seem a little questionable. And it tends to make you think, was the system told that it's not working because they didn't want us to see that video because there's something damning on it? And of course, now we're so far out that it's not going to have something that happened back in May. So you wait it out, there's now no longer any damning evidence. It just seems highly suspect.
I would agree, Madam Chairman, if I may, I would agree with your sort of inference if there was an allegation that there was an incident inside the facility, the bar, but there wasn't. The report doesn't say that. There's no allegation that somebody
No,
was...
I don't. I think that highly likely the incident that took place outside of the bar, I really believe it most likely had nothing to do with the Chelsea Walk.
Yep.
But I think if we had been provided that video, we would have seen something else taking place inside of Chelsea Walk.
Yep.
That would have caused them to come before us because we couldn't ignore something that we saw on the video.
Right.
So it would have been for something different. That's just kind of my feeling on that, guys.
So this is to consider revoking, suspending, or modifying. What is our action steps if they still, at this time, cannot provide the surveillance and they have not been open?
Well, as he stated, and we can kind of do both the agenda items at the same,
Yeah, we just do both at the same time.
kind of simultaneously, so,
Okay.
Do you want me to call it Mr. Delacroce?
yes,
If you-
please.
Al?
So the other item, number 4 on the agenda, is a public hearing to consider a change of manager on an all kinds of alcohol beverages on-premise consumption license application to Fanny's Place Incorporated, DBA Chelsea Walk Pub at 416 Broadway. So we can kind of address these in tandem, if you will. Thank you for coming this evening. I do see that you currently work there,
I'm sorry?
that you currently have been an employee.
I'm a friend of Glenn's.
And an employee, yes.
As in the paperwork, he's listed as having been a supervisor.
Working with Angela.
Right.
Yep.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay.
Not used to coming up before a board.
That's okay. We're not that scary. So has he been an employee? Is this something new and just being moved into a manager?
He's been there since 2021, is, when I sat
Yeah.
down with him and got the dates to make sure we filled this up completely. January 2021, he started, and at some point, he became a supervisor, as much as he can be a supervisor at the Chelsea Walk. He's there, Angela's the manager, and he was there sort of as the older, seasoned veteran, literally and figuratively, on site, trying to keep the peace and make sure that everything goes orderly. So, and now, as she looks to sort of prepare to step out, he would be the on-site manager 50 hours a week.
Okay. And outside of the Chelsea Walk, what sort of experience do you have managing an establishment with a liquor license?
With the liquor license, no, it's a new venture for me, I admit that. But I have had a restaurant business up in Newburyport. I've been a manager for several dozen stores with Brigham's Ice Cream years back. I've had my own construction business at one point or another, and I just have a lot of experience in management, I feel.
And have you gone through any sort of tips training, serve safe training?
At one point, I was working as a bartender at a bar part-time when I first got married, and I was tip certified, yes.
But when was that?
That was quite a while ago, but I'm not tip certified right at the moment because I wasn't in the capacity of working behind the bar at the Chelsea Walk.
But if you are going to have your name on the license
But I would
as...
be tip certified,
I
naturally,
would
yes.
expect for you to,
Yes.
to get a tip certification or a serve safe
Yes.
liquor certification.
I could have it for you tomorrow.
Just to make sure you've gone through those steps, you understand proper service.
Yes.
As if the leader doesn't know it, how is the rest of the
Exactly.
team? And then I would expect that all of the staff,
Lead by example, naturally.
I would expect all service staff in the location to also have that certification as well. As I know that this location has had numerous reports in the community, so I definitely would expect them to make sure they have all the certification. If we decide to move forward and continue the operations, I would want them following absolutely everything to the letter of the law. But I'm getting ahead of myself because we haven't gotten that far.
This just feels a little, and I'm like the most chill one up here and the most relaxed, and this feels like messy. I don't really understand why you haven't been tip certified, coming forward here asking for a change of management, why the electronics haven't been figured out. Like this meeting agenda, is like organized weeks before, and this feels real messy, that this is not buttoned up in order to move these two things forward. Like it's like, well, if we even approve these motions, it's like, well, if we have to approve it pending all the electronics are situated. We have to approve you pending you actually get tip certified, and right? So it just feels like a lot of like qualifiers to sort of get this done. So I'm not like against it, but it just feels a little messy for like my liking. So that's just my kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know about my other commissioners. but-
Madam Commissioner, I've been before this commission before
I
in
know.
previous years where, you know, you've approved something subject to them then going and wrapping up things with the building commissioner, wrapping up things with, I mean.
Yeah,
so-
but that's not this. I hear you, and we do, but in good faith.
Yeah.
This feels like not hard to have gotten done before coming here. It's one thing with like the building department, like there's a process for some of that we're willing to be in good faith. This is like you just didn't get it organized. Not you, but your clients didn't get it organized to come here and present correctly like what needed to happen for
I
like
certainly
asking
am
for
not
these things.
I'm not typically in a position of coming saying we're gonna do these things after. I acknowledge
Yeah.
that. And so that's why I say, we recognize the lights aren't turning on until they present the tip
Yeah.
certification, give you the roster of
I get it.
employees.
I
you know.
get it.
And I do agree with you, Emily. I mean, we were originally scheduled to have the disciplinary in July. It's now 2 months later. Obviously, the change in manager is a more recent addition, but I would expect, knowing that you were coming before us for a disciplinary, that everything would be as buttoned up as possible to make sure that this was going to just go through as smoothly as possible.
I would like to say something.
Yes, Alex.
Just to move this along, I would like to suggest that we suspend the license until everything is completed. They did have from May to June, and then they also had the whole summer. So I think delaying it until they have everything correct and in proper order, to just suspend it until they have everything that we need as required per the license.
But do you mean that they come back to, because we could approve it pending these things happen, or we could say, come back in another, like next month and have it together. I guess that's sort of, right, we have two options there. So what do you think? What are you suggesting?
Well, I mean, there's just so many factors that are here because you're also trying to sell the place, is that correct? Yeah, so then with selling the place comes with the license, correct?
Of course.
Yeah, so that would come before us with a transfer of the license at
So
that
if we
time.
suspended it, then that is not, there's no transfer until, I'm trying to work this out. So we suspend the license, and then they sell the place, and then we transfer. There's no transfer, correct, because it's suspended? I'm not trying to make this
Nope.
hard, I'm just trying to work this out.
Do you want to chime in with the,
Yeah, right, there is.
Sure, so hypothetically, you could potentially transfer as license that was suspended if you put contingencies on it. They can't operate they aren't allowed to operate within our regulations as is because they don't have the security cameras going right now. So that's across the board, that's a requirement for every bar that's out there in the city right now. So technically, that issue which they're here to address.
It hasn't been resolved.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so if they have that working, they're fine. You would be deciding any disciplinary action subsequent for not doing that. So that I don't know what the commission would want to do about that, but the change of manager question is a separate one. So I would try to, if I was on the commission, I would try to separate the two issues.
Okay.
So you have to decide on the violation, and then at the same time decide on the
Okay,
the
actually, that
appointment
puts
of
it
the
very clear to me because it's not about, it's really because they didn't have the surveillance at the time that it was asked versus they haven't fixed it yet, which they can no longer operate until they fix it. Okay, thanks.
But for notice purposes, those are two separate issues before the commission. The
No,
only
I
issue
get
before
it.
the commission is the failure to produce the film on that given day. And so what I'm suggesting.
I mean, it's not really the only thing before us, because the video surveillance is still not active, so they are still not in compliance.
But they were brought up on a complaint that on May 5th, they didn't turn over, or May 3rd, they didn't turn over surveillance because they weren't able to do that. We agree, we've acknowledged it, we don't dispute that. I think that what comes after that, if there's gonna be a disciplinary issue, that's gonna be, brought up. I think that needs to be separately noticed for my clients to say, you didn't give us, we're giving you notice of another violation that was ongoing, but I would then say, well, we can demonstrate that for a good portion of the time, we've shut it down. We're not looking to sort of have multiple hearings and running all over the place. We're looking to say, look, we're here confessing error. We're here saying that a woman that's been here for a number of years with a woman-owned business is ready to retire and sell her business. It's more difficult. Anyone that's been in the business, if you're trying to sell something, it's more difficult to sell something that's closed and sort of start from scratch. That's why we're going through these sort of seemingly odd steps. I had wished that we had already had it done, but I think on step number 1, agenda item number 2 on the agenda, what I would respectfully suggest is that the commission, to the extent you feel that additional penalties need to be imposed, aside from the fact that we've been closed since July on a voluntary basis to show respect to the commission.
That's not, again, it's not just in respect to us. They wouldn't have been in compliance to be open, not having the video. So that's not just in respect to us, and it was stated as a ruling at our last meeting. So it's not just in respect to us, that's following the rules.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to...
The Chelsea licensing rules and regulations
I agree with
states
you.
that they are required to have the video surveillance.
But if they went and repaired the system in the middle of
But
July,
they would have still been not in compliance from May 5th until they shut their doors on June 17th.
Correct, and that would be true, and we're here for the May 5th incident, and so all I'm saying...
It's really just a constant continuation of the entire thing, and the lack of respect for the rules. If I could just ask if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on the matter of the Chelsea Walk? We have someone. If you could make some space at the microphone, please.
Hi.
If you, before you...
I'm Deborah Zabit. I live at 375 Broadway, so basically in that area. It's what I actually sent a letter to Naomi May 26th, because there was a lot of police activity at 11:30 in the morning in front of the pub. I had noticed continued activity. I have lived down at 375 Broadway since 2018, so I've been through a lot in that neighborhood through the pandemic and all of that. It has been incredibly nice not to have the walk open, because the congregation that happens outside, whether or not they are customers of the pub, I don't know, but the congregation that was happening outside that pub was so disruptive. Very early in the morning, smoking, the sidewalk was littered with cigarette butts. There were people yelling, complaining, hanging out. There was definitely drug dealing happening right on the walk. It has been really nice. There is no other business on that block, Bellingham to 4th Street, where I've ever noticed the type of congregation that happens outside the Chelsea pub, ever. So it's been really nice, and it sounds like it's almost a moot point since it's being sold, but in anticipation of new ownership, or it's a very unpleasant experience having that pub open.
Thank you, Deborah.
Quick question, what are the hours on that current license right now? Because she said 11:30, so.
Yes. The hours on the license are Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Chairman, may I ask the captain, I'm looking at the list of your docket sheet, and November 7, 2019 is the last time we've appeared before the commission. That was to deal with increasing hours. The last time for discipline was 4/3 of 19. Do you have a whole slew of police reports from 2019 forward that show that there's been problems at the Chelsea Walk that would corroborate what the citizen has said?
Well, I can say that based upon, the database that we have, all calls and reports may or may not necessarily indicate a location in particular. It's going to give you a geographic address. So sometimes you may say 388 Broadway. It's going to default to a particular location. like the Market Basket address would default to, the Market Basket. If there was a problem in the parking lot, it doesn't necessarily indicate it's inside. Chelsea Walk is a heavily traveled area, whether it's the walkway, whether it's Broadway in and of itself. So to narrow down any one particular incident from 2019 to the present, I would say it would already have been brought before the licensing commission, maybe before my time.
And that was my point. Thank you, Captain. That was my point, that I recognize you live near, on Broadway, and you live where there's, you just approved increasing entertainment license next door to my law office, which I support. I think that's great. Thank you for doing that. But if people call and complain, because there's people outside, or the police made an arrest or a stop in front of my law office, you don't say, oh, that law office attracts all the criminal elements that Turco's representing. You say the police made an arrest on the street. So I don't think that, it's the suggestion, absent evidence from the police department, that Chelsea Walk is causing a problem. I think Mr. McAteer, as a commissioner here, can tell you that when we were here before, there were a lot more complaints about things, and I think my client made a concerted effort to sort of work with changing the clientele and really changing the atmosphere in the place, so that, and that's why in 4-year COVID helped, obviously being closed, but that's why it helped not having a bunch of complaints, and this whole thing is unfortunate.
Well, I question, were there not complaints because they've been shut down for COVID? Because I believe they haven't been reopened for that long prior to this incident of not being in compliance with the video surveillance. So is that why there isn't anything further on the docket, because the place wasn't open?
But it reinforces my point that when you have a citizen that says, all these bad things have happened during this time period, okay, we've been closed. So that proves the fact that it's not the Chelsea Walk. And so it's not fair to a business owner to say, well, the police made arrests on Broadway.
I will tell you, living in the community, she's not the only person I've ever heard make this commentary. She just happens to be the only person willing to come here tonight and speak on the matter. But I think it's fairly common knowledge to the residents that this bar tends to be one that is a bit more questionable than some of the other locations in the property, in the city.
What do you recommend? What are you recommending we do?
Well, I was just going to suggest going back to just focusing on why they're here to begin with. I will suggest either suspending or modifying the hours of that license due to the violation of not providing surveillance on the day of or 1 week after the police have asked for the surveillance. And that is for operating from May to June without having any surveillance. And that would be my suggestion. On the second part, the change of management, which could be separate, as long as he has all the qualifications, I have no problems with the change of management for this license. So that's my suggestion.
Captain Betts, were there any issues on behalf of the police department regarding the change in manager?
No.
And you've had the time to do the background and everything on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he should, I would say for the manager, an approval pending he gets tip certified.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow and submit it.
Okay.
Mike, thoughts?
I just had one question. That arrest, I know it was a long, long time ago. You wrote about it, but it really didn't expand on it. There was an incident. No, you were. That arrest on your record. You wrote something, but I didn't
2019.
understand the whole thing.
I think it was 2019, so it wasn't that long ago.
No, it was long ago.
No, it's not 2019.
I had an abandoned motor vehicle.
Something about lottery tickets.
There was a couple of things.
Here's your affidavit.
Okay.
Oh, you're correct. That was 2009.
Yeah, the 2019 was the sealing of the record pursuant to Mass General law.
Yep. Yeah, 2009 was the incident.
So what happened?
It was an employer that took his revenge out on everyone through me. And there were a few of us involved. there was a
He
small
took a book of scratch tickets from, he worked at a convenience store. He took a book of scratch tickets that he didn't pay for. He went to court, whatever the result was that's on the BOP. It was, we explained the affidavit, he was going through, having marital problems, otherwise, the only other thing on his record is when he was a juvenile. And, it was a harsh moment in his life.
very harsh.
But it was, again, the record was sealed, but we disclosed it Frank, I called the commission in Boston to say, do we disclose it when it's sealed? They said out of an abundance of caution, you should, because we don't want you to think that we were trying to mislead you.
Appreciate that. Any other questions on the change of manager, and then we'll get back to the disciplinary?
I'm good with the change of management.
Yeah, I just don't quite understand. You change your managers 2 months before you're selling, and you're the owner. So you could manage it yourself, basically. So it's not like you're getting rid of an employee.
She's tired, that's why I was
You're
trying
not
to
going to
help
be
her
there?
out.
Because we could, yeah, because we could, the plan is to open the place up for the next couple of months, show the prospective buyer, that the place can make it work, and then go, and I think that the hope is that they'll keep Al there, if it works out.
And the named licensee is supposed to be on property the bulk of the time. So if she's finding herself not in good health and not able to really be at the establishment, I understand the need to change the manager for that. Okay, so again, putting aside the disciplinary for a minute, can I get a motion to, let me put it this way, can I get a motion on the change of manager?
Pending.
This is where I want the motion from you.
I'll have that
TIP
tomorrow.
certification.
Okay, so the motion to approve the change in manager has been approved pending the necessary TIPS certification.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion?
Yes.
And a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that part we've addressed. Back to the disciplinary. Are my fellow commissioners in agreement that we find that the Fanny's Place, Inc., DBA Chelsea Walk Pub was indeed in violation of the Chelsea Licensing Commission Rules and Regulations 2.09, failure to maintain a video surveillance system? At the time in question, per that report of May 5th, still not being in compliance 1 week later, and find that they continued to fail to be in compliance through June 17th, when they maintained operating hours. Are we in agreement that we find that they are indeed at fault?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Okay. And from there, obviously, we don't allow somebody to open up a bar if they don't have the necessary operating system. That's one of those steps in the finalization of receiving a liquor license to begin with. So they can't operate until there is a surveillance video system by law in our city. So then the question becomes, as you had suggested, a revision in hours, which I would be behind.
Okay.
Because they have shown a lack of respect for the rules and regulations by not getting this fixed at the time. Particularly, this isn't a new business. You've been around forever. So you know that this is a requirement. You know you're supposed to have this video surveillance system. So to not have it working in the first place and to then not move forward and have that in compliance once it was brought to the attention of the police department, of the licensing commission, it's just kind of unacceptable. Is there a suggestion from the commission as to what hours we would like to see? at the time that we allow them to reopen.
Why are they open at 11 a.m.? Do you serve food? Oh, okay.
Wait, no food?
No,
They're a bar.
They're just a bar, they don't have the restaurant license.
They used to serve chili and stuff, but I think they stopped that. I think they were told they had to stop giving it, they weren't charging, they were giving it away.
Yeah.
so there's no reason for them to be open at 11 a.m. if we reduce that morning hours and then just end it at 11 p.m.
So what time are you thinking would be an appropriate open time?
3 p.m.? Is that normal? Yeah, 3 p.m.
Decision.
3 p.m. I will suggest 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Every day.
And you're thinking that for every day?
Sure.
Thoughts from,
I know 11, that's the point where you can't go any lower. Can you bring it to 3? Is there a rule on that? On the early number? I know that the top number is you can only go down to 11. Is there no bottom number? You don't know.
Yeah, surprised just for a bar that doesn't serve food that they're open that early, so.
Where's Peter? Maybe he might know. Peter?
I believe there is
There probably is,
there is a
right?
beginning hour. I don't recall it off the top of my head. If you want to,
Yeah, but
Sort of.
3 p.m. should be enough because.
I don't think as a matter of law you can do it. but-
no, I think that
It's
they're.
probably 12 to 11 is what I'm guessing, right? Makes
Yeah,
more sense.
I'll look it up. You know, if you want to recess this, and I'll look, and then I can tell you what the statute says. Happy
Yeah,
to-
let's move to the next
Yeah,
thing
we
on
do.
the agenda.
I
We'll
get
get
the
back
next
to.
one, and then I'll step out and look it up for you. Next one will be easy, I
So are we
promise.
pending this then?
Yeah.
We're tabling this for a
Okay.
minute. We're going to move on and then get right back to that after we kind of blow through the next things to give him a chance to look
Great.
up that rule.
Thank you.
So let's very quickly, to try to get those other folks that are so kindly sitting here patiently. Public hearing to consider a change of manager on all kinds of alcohol beverages on-premise consumption license application to Yama Entertainment LLC, DBA Populous Tapas and Bar at 11 Everett Ave, Chelsea, Mass.
Okay.
How are you this evening?
So, good evening, Attorney Jeffrey Rosario Turco for the applicant, Antonio Lama, the manager of the company, and his wife, who we hope to be the manager. Good evening.
And if you can just state her name as well.
My name Erica.
Say your name.
Erica Herrera.
Thank you.
State your name.
Antonio Lama.
Thank you for coming out tonight. And can you tell us why you are looking to change the manager?
Good, Shayla.
My wife is the one that spends more time now there. She's the general manager of the restaurant bar, so she handles all the operations. She's the general manager completely, from opening to closing. So she's gonna be spending more time there than me. That's why I wanna have the manager present there as long as I can. She will be around between 40 and 50 hours a week, so. And she's the general manager running the operations on a day-to-day basis, so it is appropriate for her to be there.
Makes sense.
And we have another location outside the city under agreement where Mr. Lama will spend most of his time.
Questions from my fellow commissioners?
No, I assume you have all the certifications being the manager, so I have no questions.
She's tip certified.
I promised you this one would be easier.
Yeah.
The one before.
Yep.
Good. Good.
Anything from the police department regarding Populous?
No.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on the matter of Populous? Seeing no one. How long have you been working over at the restaurant?
15 years.
I'm sorry,
Populous 4 years. 4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
And are you tip certified?
Yes, I.
And what about the rest of the staff there?
Everybody is tip certified.
Everybody in the front of house is
Pretty much a requirement we have there. If you work there, you have to be tip certified.
perfect. And is yours currently active?
Yes. Tip certified.
Uh-huh.
Still tip
Okay.
Yes,
So I would ask, just to make sure that a copy of that certification is submitted, so we have that on record as well, that you've gone through those necessary steps. And have you been involved up to this point with any sort of liquor inventorying, storage, purchasing?
En inventario, en guardar licor, ordenar licor, guardar licor.
yes.
And you understand all of the rules and regulations with where we purchase our liquor from,
Yes.
maintaining it in a secure location on the property? Okay. Any other questions from my fellow commissioners?
No, all set.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
A motion.
Make a motion to approve the
Motion to
transfer?
approve the change of management.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
approved. Thank you very much.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
And then,
Take longer. We want to do the next one.
next on the agenda, we are going to have a public hearing to consider an RFP of an all kinds of alcoholic beverages on-premise license application and an amusement and entertainment license application to Preciado Brothers LLC DBA Ponde Juancho at 400 to 406 Broadway, Chelsea, Mass.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
My name is Attorney Patrick McDonald. Excuse me, I have offices at 479 Eastern Avenue in Malden, and I represent the petitioner in this matter, Preciado Brothers LLC, which currently does business here in Chelsea at 400-406 Broadway as Ponde Juancho. That is a existing bakery restaurant establishment that its principals are Mr. Juan Preciado. As you can probably glean from the name of the LLC, it's two brothers, Juan Preciado and Diego Preciado. With me as well is Miss Shelley Canales. She is the spouse of Mr. Juan Preciado. As I said, it's an existing bakery/restaurant establishment now, and they're seeking to enhance their business to some extent by virtue of a liquor license. So the petition is for an Section 12 all-alcohol restaurant license at that location. The Preciado Brothers LLC is a Massachusetts LLC, again, of which the two brothers, Juan and Diego, are the sole members and equal members in it. They're also both managers of that. The location, as I mentioned, is an existing restaurant establishment now. They occupy pursuant to a lease with the property owner, a long-term lease with the property owner. The proposed manager in the application is Ms. Canales, Mr. Preciado's wife. And given the discussion about tip certification, I want to ask the Commission, Ms. Canales is tip certified, and I would normally include a copy of the certification in the package. I don't seem to have that in my copy of it, and I'm not sure if therefore maybe a page got missed in my copy machine or I didn't submit it.
I don't think I have it in our package.
I can offer to the Commission, she has a copy of it on her phone, and we certainly can get a paper copy over to the Commission should they be inclined to grant and appoint her the manager as part of that.
And what is it valid through? When is it valid through?
It was issued on January 17 of this year.
Okay.
It expires in 2026.
Perfect.
She has, as if you were to review the application, she has some experience already. She has worked at another licensed establishment in Revere for about a year that was named Fajitas. And Mr. Juan Preciado is also an owner-operator of another licensed establishment in Lynn. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name. Okay, I'm not really great at Spanish, so maybe more slowly. But anyway, and how many years have you been there, Mr.? 4 years. So,
congratulations.
It's again a licensed establishment, a clean record, no problems there. And Ms. Canales has filled in. I don't want to misrepresent to the board that she's worked there, but she's filled in. It's her husband's business, and as a consequence of both filling in there and working for a year at Fajitas, she's familiar with the basics associated with liquor license manager. I characterized her position at Fajitas as night manager. Again, I don't want to misrepresent. She was not the liquor license manager at that establishment. In a more generic managerial capacity, she worked there. The hours, there's no, when Commissioner, when you announced the hearing, you mentioned entertainment license and hours, and there's actually no application or request pending right now for an application license, or at least I didn't file one. And their intent was to maintain.
Oh, I think I might have flipped. I apologize. Oh, it was on here.
I made the mistake.
Yep, it was just a typo.
That's fine. As they stand before you now, they're not asking for an entertainment license or to change what are their current operating hours. They're actually open from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Naturally, the 6 a.m. Wouldn't apply to the service and sale of liquor, but they're not seeking to extend the 10 p.m. closing time at this moment. I want to be candid with the commission. They're probably going to come back in here shortly to seek an entertainment license and to seek I'm sorry? Well, I'm not certain exactly what forms of entertainment they'll be asking for, but whatever they are, they would naturally be in the application before the commission at that time. My position on it was, you're a new licensee in this community, get the license and see how you do for a little while, and then seek extended hours or entertainment. And we believe that they'll be operating for a month or 2 months or so as a new licensee, if it's granted by the commission, and then would probably seek to extend to more commonplace hours for a licensed establishment. But right now, it's just until their existing closing time, which is 10 p.m., and no formal requests for entertainment of any kind. But a restaurant that serves liquor that doesn't have some kind of entertainment is not going to be competitive with the other establishments in the area. So they're going to want TV, maybe some music, and maybe some other things. So, but as I said, not before the board at this particular moment.
I appreciate that. So a couple of quick questions, because I do know that it is a fairly new establishment in our community. When did you open the bakery here? Bakery restaurant? I do just need folks to speak into the microphone, as this is recorded as well. And if you could state your name since you weren't at the mic before.
Hello, my name is Diego Preciado. I'm a brother Juan. I opened the bakery August 12th last year.
Oh,
Almost,
wonderful.
13 months.
I don't even think I realized that it had been there that long. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How has it been going so far?
Everything is excellent. The community is so happy with the business. My brother and I, his wife, and the family try to work the best. Good products, good service, good qualities. And I think that's why I'm here. So the communities told me they need a little bit more on the place. The people like the place. So, and thank you for the community of the Chelsea, because they give me opportunity to open place. And now it's one more opportunity to the community to see how my family works. So that's why I'm here, so it's gonna wait.
I had a question that might be best addressed by you, Mike. When I was going through the packet, there was 2 different seating plans, or floor plans.
So there was an old seating plan, he had one bathroom. And then he when he created the second bathroom, he got to expand his seating. Place is spotless, the food's good. I really have no issue with it. Yeah, he did an excellent job. Even in the beginning, he had all this land that he could fill up with chairs, but he didn't. Gave him his occupancy permit, said you can't add more than I think it was 20 seats. And he did, and he was a man of his word. I've had no issues for the last
I just wanted to make sure,
So there's one seating plan.
because I saw one with 20 seats, and then the one that has the bar
He got a
added
second
in
bathroom, that's why,
has
so he
a
could
larger
raise-
number of seats. So I
Right.
just want to make sure that everything was good and you weren't going to have any
Right.
problems.
It was when he first opened, he only had one bathroom, so he had to build a second bathroom to expand the seating.
That makes complete sense. And are you going to have seating at the bar as well? Or just the tables in the restaurant?
If I recall from the plan, it's a relatively small bar area, but I believe they're going to have essentially stool seating at the
Yep.
bar. However many seats would fit at a very small bar area.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably like a 4-seater
3
or
or 4,
something like
yes.
that. Since this is a place that you had already opened and had in operation as an establishment that hasn't been serving alcohol. Do you have a space on the property for storing your inventory?
Absolutely, yes.
We got 2 basements.
2 basements.
Okay.
Everything is separate. So like the food is separate, one of the basement, and the other products, they have more life, or be careful with everything, water or something, is in another basement. So I have a really good storage.
And it can be secured?
Yes, they have video cameras. I have a alarm with both doors and the glass and everything. So everything is covered.
Okay.
Now it's coming with the new project, the walking cooler and freezer too, for
Yeah.
the beer bars too.
Yep.
So that's much better for the people, and clean and everything.
Perfect. Yeah, I just want to make sure you're not going to end up with a problem later. That's the important thing, is make sure we get all these steps out of the way now, and that way you guys get to just run a wonderful business in the community and not have any problems. So if that has all been thought through, I think that's great. Questions from my fellow commissioners?
If you were to serve the liquor, what was the times are you proposing to serve the liquor?
Excuse me, sorry?
That they're not changing hours.
They don't,
Well, because they open at 6 a.m., so.
No,
Well,
it's not.
the expectation would be that it would be the normal hours permissible under a license, which I believe is 11 to 11, except we understand initially it's 10 o'clock closing, but they would be asking for a license that allowed them to sell liquor as early as liquor is allowed to be sold under a conventional license, and they also understand that extending beyond 11 p.m. is at the discretion of the local licensing authority. I don't know that they'd extend beyond 11 p.m. That remains to be seen when they come back before the board, but they recognize that the most they would get without discretion exercised by the commission would be 11 p.m., and the earliest is whatever's permitted. And Sundays, you can open a little earlier, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Typically, Sundays is actually the later
Well,
day.
it's noon.
You can do earlier Mondays through Saturdays and later on Sundays. That's the kind of the standard, right?
So-
make sure. I'm going from my own personal history on that side of the business. Sundays, it's normally a delayed opening. I think that's kind of something from.
I thought that was for liquor stores, no?
Well, back in the day, they actually didn't even allow liquor stores to sell on Sundays. That has been changed, but I know for restaurants, just from the licenses that I have managed, Sundays is always it was always a little later start, but 11 o'clock is an acceptable one. Some licenses do permit liquor to be served earlier than 11 a.m. on the other days of the week, and Sundays goes a little later.
Well, I was just thinking if they would do brunch hours, then it would be on the earlier side on the weekends, but then during the weekday, maybe 11 to 10. So my other question is, do you currently have surveillance, or are you going to provide surveillance system in your establishment?
Yes.
We have the video
Yeah,
surveillance.
absolutely.
Okay, so that's already taken care of?
That's
Okay.
right.
Is it there now, or you'd be
there
putting it
I
in?
have the now camera system on
Okay.
both sides.
When I open it August 12th, 15 days later, I'm going to put a new system camera. I have a year with our system.
I would state that I don't know anything about my client's video surveillance system, so I can't represent to the board that it's compliant for liquor license purposes.
Yep.
But I can represent that they understand that if upgrades or adjustments need to be made to the existing video surveillance system in order to bring it into compliance, they'll need to do that before the city would issue a license, if it in fact is granted tonight.
Captain Betts, feedback, comments from the police department?
No, I would just say that, once you're up and running and fully operational, we can come by and just double check your system. I know you have a system there now, but we can just go by and make sure that it's compliant with, our needs if we ever have to get in there and access it, like we've, had the experience with the prior clients, not being able to get in there on a timely basis. That's just something we need to do.
It is very important, as you've heard from being here this evening.
It's very informative. I told my clients, sometimes being last is a good thing because you get to see and hear and get the lay of the land. I've never been before this body. I've practiced before a number of permit granting authorities in other communities, but not Chelsea in particular. So I found it very informative personally and as a practitioner. So.
Well, glad we could help be informative. Yes. Nicole? Thank you. I do need you to, thank you.
Hi, Officer Nicole McLaughlin. I'm with the Chelsea Police Department. I just want to say I've been in their establishment. It's very nice. We feel comfortable going in there, having coffee, and all the pastries. I just hope, I wish you the best of luck, but I just hope the dynamic of the restaurant doesn't change with the alcohol. With all the other bars, not generalizing anyone in particular, but you have a really, really nice business now, so I don't know, I'm just hoping, as a resident of Chelsea as well, that likes to go to, restaurants in my city, I just hope that the integrity of the restaurant stays as what it is right now with the liquor that comes in it in the area that you're in. So that's my only request as a resident. So. That's our priority.
Thank you, Officer McLaughlin.
I spoke to the owners before the meeting, and they expressed to me that their other restaurants in other cities are family, and this is the way they're going to keep this restaurant. Even in the other establishments, they do have liquor licenses in the other establishments, and it's family, and this is the way they're going to keep this one. So I hope it's true.
I've heard nothing but positive things so far about your establishment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on the matter? Yes.
Again, because I go to the bakery all the time. I love it. And I kind of wanted to echo what you said. I'm just, because it feels to me like a bakery, and it's delightful, and I am concerned about that, not your restaurant or you, but yes, that neighborhood and sort of the population sometimes, especially around the Chelsea Walk area, that there's another place that's open early in the morning, technically, to do that. So that would be my only concern as well. But I love the location, so. Great. Nice. Thank you.
So from what I'm hearing, the establishment has done a great job so far in the community, and the concerns are that you make sure you maintain the integrity of your establishment if we grant this liquor license for you, and continue to maintain it as a clean, welcoming environment that all of our residents want to go to, and don't turn it into a bar that we have problems and complaints about regularly in the city with drunken, disorderly conduct outside of your property. So making sure you have the proper management, that your team that is in place understands properly managing alcohol, that they go through the Serve Safe training, and not only go through that training, but practice what they learn in that training. That is very important. We had an establishment before us several months back that, while everybody was TIPS trained on the property, when we were provided video of service from a disciplinary situation, we saw that the staff not only did not do things that were in compliance, they did the complete opposite of everything that you were told to do inside of the Serve Safe training. And I say that as somebody who has gone through the training. I have taught my own staff that same training. Very important to make sure that it's not only go through the training, but regular conversations with your team about the importance of following those rules. We respect that all of our businesses in the community that have a liquor license, they're trying to make money, we get that, but we also need to remember that it is a matter of safety in the community, not only for the individual that is consuming the beverages, but for the other people around them, and then once they leave that establishment. Even when somebody is not getting into a car, we don't know what happens after that. Sometimes you have people that leave in an Uber, and then they end up at another place drinking further, or God forbid, they were driving and caused an accident. And making sure that all of your team understands that whoever serves the alcohol is responsible for those things that happen. And it goes, it's not just the restaurant, It goes all the way down the line, the way the rules of serving liquor work. It's a scary thing as somebody who's been a server and been a bartender to know that you have that responsibility. But it's important that as a management team, you set the stage for your team and you back your team on those days that they feel somebody has been overserved or is about to be overserved, and you back that decision and cut off that service and make sure those people get home safely. Other questions or comments from the commission? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, motion to move forward with the alcohol license. Is that the correct way to say that?
So you'd like to make
seconds.
You'd like to make a motion to approve an all kinds of alcoholic beverage on-premise license application for Preciado Brothers LLC, DBA Pan de Juancho at 400-406 Broadway.
Yes, thank you.
And a second?
I'll second, but I'm just concerned about the hours. What are the hours?
So the hours that are on the amusement entertainment, that's the hours that they're gonna have.
So
11 to 10? Okay, great.
Yeah,
I'll
11 to 10.
I'm good. I'll second.
So 11 a.m. to 10 a.m., 7 days a week. And you're seconding?
I'm seconding.
All in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I submit the mailing receipts?
And when she has a moment, if you can also send over the tip certification so we have that on file.
We need it for the record.
Nope,
Just send it over.
Yeah, we need it for the file.
That's okay. We just want it for our file, so just when you have time to send that over. It's not a part of the ABCC requirement. It's something that we like to see that you've gone through.
Do you need a hard copy, or can I email it to someone?
Emailing it is fine.
Perfect, I can do that.
Perfect.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
They have my emails,
Oh, they have
right?
your email? Then, there you go. He's the one in charge, so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're waiting for this.
And at this point, we are back to the disciplinary hearing.
Oh, perfect timing.
And like magic, he is back in the room. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello.
So back to what we were talking about
Yes.
the looking at changing the hours.
I talked to council, I showed him 18612, says Mr. McAteer's experience was right, but you were wrong on 12. It's 11 to 11 is what the statute says. That's the minimum hours for a license.
All right, 11 to 11.
Could I just, for the record, voice my
Yes.
objection to considering discipline on anything other than the May 5th report for which we're here for?
That is noted. So back with where we were, we had made a finding that they were, sorry.
They were at fault.
Let me flip back to the correct one. We found that they were indeed in violation of the City of Chelsea Licensing Commission Rules and Regulations, Section 2.09, failure to maintain the video surveillance system. At the time of when the police came in on May 5th, again, when the police were back a week later, it was still a continued problem. And we also find that they continued to be at fault and in violation of continuing to operate without video surveillance until they closed their doors on June 17th voluntarily. And then when we met at our July meeting at the request of Commissioner McAteer, when he made the motion to approve the continuance for the disciplinary hearing, that they maintain being closed until we had the time to discuss the disciplinary hearing. And as we discussed, doing absolutely nothing during any of that time to get the video surveillance up and running outside of this this letter that has just come in stating that it's looked at and it's broken. Not telling us we looked at it and it's fixed now. It's still broken. So looking at rolling back those hours, that would be, as we had stated, the license is currently Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., and Friday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. So we're looking at, as a starting point, changing those hours for Sunday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Is this correct?
Correct.
So can we get a motion on
What about
changing
Friday
the
and
hours?
Saturday? The same, right?
Keeping it the same.
11 a.m. to 11.
Sunday through Saturday, 7 days a week.
Okay, sorry. I heard Thursday for some
Nope.
reason. Okay.
To start, can I get a motion on adjusting the hours on this liquor
I will
license?
motion to adjust the hours from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.,
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Is that the punishment?
That is part of the punishment for sure. So as a disciplinary result for not being in compliance and continuing to not be in compliance, we will roll back those hours to 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. And in addition, the location is not able to be open until the City of Chelsea Police Department has been able to go down and view their video system and ensure it is operational and that there is access to retrieve data. And at which point the police department confirms that that has been corrected, and notification is made to the licensing office. They would be able to reopen at that time
With those hours.
with the hours of an 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, I motion.
So you motion having the video system up and having the police department check on the video system, and then the rollback of the hours.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So they're not allowed to reopen until the police department has confirmed to licensing that the video surveillance is back up and running. And once licensing has that information, the establishment can reopen with the reduced hours of 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. I would expect that we won't have an issue again with the video surveillance, as I don't believe any further infractions on this nature are going to be looked at with something as simple as a rollback, when this is something that an establishment that has been in our city for so long is very well aware of what our rules are. So, motion to approve that disciplinary you made.
Already motioned.
Did we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next meeting is scheduled to be on October 12th, 2023. I know that Mike is going to be out of town that day. Can we get confirmation, hopefully, that both of you are available?
I'll double check. I think I'm back from traveling, but I will double check.
Just to make sure that we can have a
I'll
quorum.
let you know by Monday, I believe.
Perfect. Appreciate that. You'll be here?
Yep.
Awesome. So if you can just confirm when you have a moment, that would be perfect. And that is our meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for your time.